Hi, I'm Miscellaneous Stories, and this is the miniseries The Monster of Florence. A serial killer terrorized an entire region for nearly 2 decades. He targeted young couples secluded in nature, then mutilated their bodies. The case became one of the most high-profile and mysterious in Italian history, raising numerous questions about the killer's identity. The series, based on real events, begins with the credits revealing that 8 double murders were committed over a 17-year period in the Italian province of Florence. The killer targeted young couples, and was responsible for 16 deaths in total. He was never caught, despite police having several different theories about his identity. Theory 1. On June 19, 1982, a young couple, Paolo and Antonello, turn off the highway onto a country road to have sex on the side of the road. Immediately after, they see a figure approaching across a field. Frightened, Paolo gets behind the wheel and reverses, but the stranger pulls out a gun and opens fire. Several shots finish off the lover. The killer approaches the car when he notices a headlight ahead. The approaching car frightens him from the scene. Paramedics responding to the call pronounced the girl dead, but took Paolo with them. Despite his wound, the boy was still alive. Police and forensic experts arrive, collecting evidence like shell casings. Deputy Prosecutor Silvia Della Monica is leading the investigation. It was her job to inform the arriving parents that their daughter was dead. Silvia also suggests that the girl was the primary target. Upon learning that Paolo died from his wounds, Silvia suggests that Vincent's partner deceived the killer. He tells the media that the boy survived and provides a detailed description of the shooter. The monster has started playing again, but this time, he has made a mistake. Back in her office, Silvia checks for similar cases. A double murder involving a pistol and a knife. Similar incidents occurred in 1974 and 1981, but she suspects the killer began operating earlier. To test her theory, she orders the archives to be searched for similar crimes. Checking the records, the archivist finds an old case from Barbara Locci was killed in a car, along with her lover, Antonio Lobianco. Ballistics tests point to a direct connection. All the victims were killed with the same Beretta .22 caliber pistol. However, there's a catch. The killer was found in 19... Stefano Melli, Barbara's husband, confessed to the murder out of jealousy and served time. However, the murder weapon was never found. Silvia and the investigator in charge of Melli's case believe he hid something from the investigation, and the real killer continues to kill and desecrate women's bodies. The prosecutor sends the investigator to question Stefan Melli again. He is living in a shelter for previously convicted criminals, but when he sees the police, he refuses to talk, citing poor health. After the visitors leave, Stefan experiences flashbacks. He mentally transports himself to the Barbaras escape across a field, still wearing their wedding dress, from their wedding. Stefano himself is reluctant to live with a wife who doesn't appreciate him, but his family gives chase. A considerable amount of material wealth was given as bride price. Having caught up with the girl, the family returns her to her groom, who has yet to give birth. After living together for a year, the newlyweds face a financial crisis. Due to the closure of a construction site, Stefano is forced to look for a new job. To make ends meet, they decide to rent out a room in the apartment. Let them go to a stranger's house? We need Barbara's money. Their new neighbor is Salvatore, a brash and self-assured young man. Come on, turn on the radio, I want to listen to music. After a couple of months, Salvatore's self-assurance, coupled with Stefano's gentle nature, leads the tenant to dominate the house, lording it over Barbara, including making her bring him drinks after dinner. And when Barbara goes to bed, Salvatore, slowing down his legal husband, goes into the bedroom in his stead. Stefano, frustrated that the term colt hasn't been coined yet, and he can't wear it proudly, eavesdrops behind the door. 4 months later, when the neighbor moved out, Barbara confessed to her husband that she was pregnant, judging by the time she was pregnant, Salvatore's child. In 82, Stefano is again visited by the police to show him the cases of double murders committed with the same pistol with which he allegedly shot his wife and her lover. The man plunges into memories again. In 1968, he and his wife already have a son, Natalino. One day, Francesco, Salvatore's brother, visits their home, and the woman begins a romantic relationship with him. Stefano's relative is displeased that his wife has been promiscuous, and he can't do anything about it. His shameful spinelessness casts a shadow over them. You're not the only one who looks like an idiot because of this. On August 21st, Barbara goes to the cinema with her new lover Antonio Lobianco, taking her son along with her. He, even drawing with 7 pencils, adds extra uncles to his mother. After the movie, the couple takes an exit off the highway. The woman tells the tired child to go to bed and begins making love in the front seat. Suddenly, gunshots ring out, which will be Natalino's. A boy sees his mother and uncle dead, and frightened, presses the horn. Waiting for no one, he gets out of the car in his socks and wanders to the nearest farmhouse, where he asks to be taken home. He's tired, and his mother and uncle are lying dead in the car. The police arrive at the scene and begin investigating the case, questioning the boy. They want to know how he got home along a country road with clean, unblemished socks. Then the murdered woman's husband is summoned to the station. Upon entering, he sees that her former lover, Francesco, is also being investigated. Stefan has a motive and no alibi, but there is no evidence pointing to him either. After performing a paraffin test to find traces of gunshot, the police release him. As he leaves, he remembers catching Francesco in his wife's bedroom. At a family council, the relatives tell Stefan that he needs to protect his son from endless interrogations, and at the same time, wash away the family's shame. He'll give me life, that's even for the better. After this, the man goes to the police under the supervision of his own men to confess to the murder of his lover's wife. During the investigative reenactment, he explains how he killed them, and then moved the bodies, so that, at least after his wife's death, she would be free of another man. The heir doesn't quite believe him. Such a weakling wouldn't even swat a fly, let alone a woman with a lover. Moreover, the murder weapon is missing. Stefan threw it into a nearby canal. The police combed the pond, but to no avail. Later, Natalina admits that her father gave him a ride from the car to the farmhouse, teaching him what to say. In 1982, Stefano asks them to find his grown son so that he can meet him for the first time since those events. In exchange, he agrees to tell the truth. It was Francesco who killed Barbara and her lover, unable to forgive her for cheating on him as well. Fearing for his son, Stefano took the blame, ultimately serving 6 years. Francesco himself, arriving home, hears the news on TV that the wounded Powell survived and gave a detailed description of their attacker. The man was able to describe his appearance to us in great detail. Version 2, Francesco, packing his bag, abruptly leaves the house, telling his wife not to worry. Driving a short distance, he pulls off the road to park the car in a thicket, covering it with chopped branches for safety. He then hitchhikes, reminiscing. In 1967, young Francesco was working as a driver for a gang of robbers, wearing a stylish stocking on his head and resembling the idol of millions, Jason Statham, in the film The Transporter. After robbing a jewelry store, the accomplices abandoned the car in a field and went their separate ways. Hiding a gun under the floorboards, Francesco sees Stefan and is rude to him. Later, apologizing for his rudeness, the young man gives his colleague a ride home on his scooter. There, he meets Stefan's wife, Barbara. The guest immediately gifts his wife with his organs, and then sets his sights on Bolt's husband. Taking advantage of Stefan's departure for work in another city, Francesco visits Barbara to begin a romantic relationship. In a fit of sincerity, Barbara confesses that she hates her husband for renting a room to Salvatore, Francesco's brother, and doing nothing when he raped her. But with her new lover, she blossomed, bought a dress, and goes out with him. She knows he has a family, a wife and child, and doesn't believe he'll abandon them. A lofty relationship. You won't leave. I certainly will. Stefano returns from a business trip with a small wound near her eye. Noticing Francesco visiting them, he understandably suspects foul play. After dinner, the host asks his guest to leave and goes with his wife to the bedroom. When Barbara resists, Francesco, overcome with emotion, storms into the room and practically assaults his slight husband. Having clearly explained to him that he intends to pay his marital debt for him, the guest assigns his host to the children's room, while he himself remains in the bedroom. This frivolous idyll is interrupted one afternoon by the arrival of Francesco's wife with the police. They arrest him for maliciously evading his legal marital obligations, particularly the care of their dependent child. When the boy is sent to prison, Salvatore finds Stefan and asks him to stay with them again. This is his revenge on his wife for her infidelity. When his brother is released from prison 6 months later, Salvatore meets him to tell him the sad news. Barbara didn't wait for him, but gave herself to another. Meeting the woman in a cafe, the upset lover insults her, calling her a fallen woman with low social responsibility. He rips her dress and throws money in her face, supposedly payment for intimate services. Observing this performance, Salvatore egged his brother on. But Francesco's feelings haven't faded. Noticing that Barbara has found a new lover, he follows them, grabbing a gun from the house. As they leave the cinema, he sees the hapless Stefan and orders him to come with him. Together they catch up with the lovers. Sneaking up from behind, Francesco shoots them, killing both. Then he orders Stefan to take a shot too. This will transform him from a witness into an accomplice. In 1982, the police break into Francesco's house, where they find only his wife and child. They wiretap his phone. When the fugitive goes to an old acquaintance to obtain a fake passport and flee the country, he calls his wife to leave instructions on how to pay for the service. Having overheard the conversation, the police pinpoint the suspect's location. They break into the house and arrest him. When the young man is brought into the city, Deputy Prosecutor Sylvia accuses him of murdering Barbara and her lover during interrogation. Francesco denies everything, but Stefan is given a firm bet. Stefan confirms that this is the man who killed his wife. Enraged, the suspect attacks his former colleague, but security responds in time. Sylvia interrogates Francesco's wife, but she diligently defends her husband, claiming he was at home with her during all these high-profile murders. However, a wiretap recording makes it clear she is lying at his behest. Interviewing the accused, she explains that they have plenty of circumstantial evidence pointing to him, and his turbulent criminal past makes matters worse. But the young man denies the charges, refusing to cooperate with the investigation. However, this doesn't save him from prison. On September 1983, a homosexual German tourist couple is relaxing in a hippie Volkswagen minibus, when a killer suddenly approaches them and opens fire with a pistol. The killer mistook one of the boys for a girl, because of his long hair, which accidentally prompted him to break his usual pattern. But noticing his mistake, he didn't mock the corpses and simply left. Version 3. That same night, another couple retreats to the forest thicket to make out in the depths of a car. The young people are unaware that a mysterious man is watching them, but he's not a killer at all, but a perverted voyeur. Having planted a tape recorder under the car to record the sound, the pervert waits behind a tree trunk with his own trunk in hand, until the couple consummate their amorous deeds. Having taken the audio trophy, the peeping Tom drives to the exit. The carabinieri are already there. Deputy Prosecutor Sylvia arrived at the scene of the German massacre. After inspecting the van, she realized Francesco was innocent, and would have to be released. The young man, released from prison, spoke to a journalist, telling him that he wasn't seeking revenge with his lies against Stefano, but was covering for someone closer. Someone who knew Stefano Mella wouldn't betray him. In the office, Sylvia interrogates Stefano again. The man admits to slandering Francesco, but he won't say why or whom he was covering for with these lies. He claims he doesn't remember anything. After the interrogation, He goes to the home of his brother Giovanna, who lives with their mother. "Come in. I've prepared the room." In 1959, when Barbara first joined the Mella family, her free spirit and fashionable clothes caused gossip among the villagers. The obscene talk was a disgrace to the local farmers, so her daughters-in-law forbade her from leaving the house. Giovanna's brother-in-law gave her a sobering slap when she tried to protest. "A married woman has no business going to dive bars. Those are for men." The next day Barbara is locked up. When Stefan's father brings her food, he tries to seduce her during the conversation, earning him a blow to the head with a dishpan. The daughter-in-law threatens to tell the whole village that an old pervert has been harassing her son's wife, unless he lets her and her husband move to the city. That evening over dinner, the patriarch informs the family that he has decided to sell the house so they can all move out. He can't live under the same roof with his promiscuous daughter-in-law. In 1984, Giovanna, armed with a scalpel, quietly leaves the house so as not to wake his sleeping wife. He goes to meet Yolanda, a woman he recently met. They go to a village tavern-cum-restaurant for a date. During the tryst, the man meets a driver named Enzo, about whom the following is known. One of the many local voyeurists, he, while spying on a couple having sex, witnessed their murder by a maniac dubbed the Monster of Florence in Giovanna suspects that Enzo recognized the killer, but is afraid to testify against him to the police. After their date, Giovanna drives Yolanda, not home, but along secluded country roads where young couples usually park for romantic encounters. In the glare of his headlights, the driver scares away numerous military drivers, like cockroaches. Those who like to sneak a peek lie in the bushes, waiting for their next target. Then Giovanna stops in the middle of a vineyard to vividly recount to the woman another murder committed by the monster in 19. Inviting Yolanda out, Giovanna demonstrates on her how the maniac mutilated the body, stabbing it 97 times, with precision. Frightened by this overly realistic performance, the woman asks him to take her home. Giovanna starts the car, but instead of driving her home, he takes her to the local cemetery, where he attempts to seduce her. Yolanda firmly refuses, after which the driver gets out, opens the trunk, takes something out, and walks away. Seizing the opportunity, the woman gets out of the car, and sees a coil of rope in the trunk, along with various tools, before fleeing and hiding among the tombstones. Having lost her pursuer, Yolanda walks to the nearest Carabinieri station, where she claims to know who the Florentine monster is. "I know who the Florentine monster is." Giovanna is arrested. During interrogation, it is revealed that he has no alibi for any of the known murders, and the trunk is full of suspicious instruments, including a scalpel, and there are traces of blood, possibly from a simple cut. Investigators also recall his dislike for the first victim, his brother's wife, for whom his father sold the family farm while she was cheating on her husband. He denies his guilt, and claims he was in another city at the time of Barbara's murder. However, in 1968, their father ordered his sons and son-in-law, Piero, to deal with the Viva, who was tarnishing their proud name. Giovanna confronts Stefano with the fait accompli. "Barbara must be killed. Barbara's not long for this world." "What? You understand?" This version is supported by the testimony of Natalino's nephew a year after his mother's murder. He allegedly saw Uncle Piero that evening. Giovanna recalls how, together with his brother and brother-in-law, they caught the adulterous woman. He personally shot her and her lover, after which Stefano fired the final shot. Giovanna and Piero are arrested on charges of murder. Not just one but a whole chain of murders. They are led to prison, while Deputy Prosecutor Silvia doubts the wisdom of this decision. Last time they were wrong about Francesca, the maniac is added to the list of victims. On July 29, 1984, another couple ventures into remote secluded areas to engage in indecent activities. They are interrupted by gunshots. The Florentine monster strikes again. Then he drags the woman's body outside, where he strips her for further desecration. Deputy Prosecutor Silvia receives a call in the middle of the night. They found another victim of the serial killer, just as she suspected. The fourth theory, harvesting the fruits of the fresh bloody harvest. The police realize that their previous theory has proven insufficient. They recall that they have only one witness who personally saw the shooter, with the pistol implicated in the murders, young Natalino Mel. They stage a forensic experiment on the now-grown boy, hoping he will recall something beyond the current versions of his confused testimony. Gazing at the reeds swaying in the wind, the young man recalls that the plants had also stirred that night, and behind them he saw Uncle Salvatore's face. Receiving a tip, the Carabinieri set out to search Salvatore's house, and he is brought in for questioning based on the violent pornography they found, and the dirty rags stained with blood and gunpowder. But this isn't conclusive evidence, so the man is released. At home he watches an interview with his brother, who says that a Florentine monster must be cunning and calculating. In 1958, Salvatore, after serving in the army, returns to his home village of Velocidro. His friend Sasa, with whom the two share a passion for music, is most pleased with his return. However, local rumors suggest they simply enjoy playing their pipes due to their unconventional relationship. If a man wants a woman, he takes her. To quell the rumors, Salvatore's father forces him to marry. Barbarina, Sasa's sister, is offered as his bride. Ambushed, Salvatore asks her what she thinks. The girl, engaged to her lover, refuses. Salvatore then rapes her, after which the disgraced young woman is forced to marry him. But even after bearing him a son, Barbarina regularly hints that she's aware of her husband's unnatural affair with his brother. She herself, however, isn't averse to having an affair, since her ex-fiancé still has feelings for her. Salvatore spies on their tryst, and then reprimands his wife at home. She threatens to tell the whole village that he married her as a distraction, while he himself would rather be married. Enraged, the husband beats his wife and then runs to her relatives. He claims Barbarina has locked herself in, and won't let him in. Together, they return to his home, where they find the child in the dining room and his wife dead in the bedroom. She had poisoned herself with gas from a cylinder. Having locked the door, holding her nephew in her arms, Sasa looks suspiciously at her friend, as if realizing what he's done. Then Salvatore moves to the city, where they rent a room from Stefan and his wife. Lying in his room at night, he hears his landlord making love and goes to spy. Spying on his wife stirs strange feelings in his soul. Stefana notices the tenant spying on them, but says nothing. The next day, Salvatore apologizes to him for yesterday, but a spark ignites between them. They are ready to pleasure each other, but Barbara catches them. Afterward, the wife treats her husband with disdain, forcing the guest to intervene and show him how a man should behave in a family, even though in his home village, it was precisely this that was considered wrong. He explains to Barbara that her behavior upsets her husband, and threatens to punish him if he doesn't change. Afterward, the husband leaves the bedroom door open overnight, inviting the tenant to share their bed in a threesome. The wife objects, but she isn't even asked. However, when it turns out she's pregnant, Salvatore urgently moves out, citing the room will soon be needed for a nursery. In 1974, he married a second time, to a woman who was not his wife, but retained his distinctive tastes and passions. Threatening his wife, he set her up with other men to have sex with her, while Salvatore watched from the sidelines. Ultimately, unable to bear the humiliation, Rosina leaves her husband with her children, returning to her homeland. Returning from work to the empty apartment, Salvatore loses his temper. He goes to a horde of warriors, where he spies a couple among the vines. In a fit of rage, he attacks the lovers, killing them, and desecrating the woman's corpse. But this is not his first murder. Having met Barbara in '68, and learned that she had a new lover, Salvatore stalks her with Stefano. He persuades her husband to kill his unfaithful wife, just as he did 10 years earlier. Stefano carries out the plot with Salvatore's pistol, but upon seeing his son awaken, he flees in terror. Salvatore is about to shoot the boy, but changes his mind, and decides to send an old shepherd friend to the house. In 1985, the police interrogate the elderly Salvatore. He denies any involvement in the murders. It turns out that young Natalina got lost in the dark, and went to the wrong farmer, not the shepherd he knew, who among other things, provided Salvatore with an alibi for when Salvatore's first wife died under suspicious circumstances. The man demands a lawyer, refusing to answer any further questions. He is released. He is not yet a suspect, but a witness. When the police summon Rosalina for questioning, they learn that she first left her husband in but then returned and finally left him in During these years, the Florentine monster committed murders, which can be explained by a nervous breakdown caused by discord in the family. It also emerges that rumors circulated about Salvatore that he killed his first wife, making it look like an accident. By pressuring her conscience with photographs of the murdered victims, the police persuade her to testify about August 20. Rosina admits that her husband didn't come home that night. The deputy prosecutor receives a suspicious letter in the morning, and immediately submits it for examination. Returning home that evening, she finds the street lined with police officers. The envelope, along with the letter, contained a piece of a woman's breast, cut off from fresh victims of the monster found during the day. Realizing they can't delay, the police arrest Salvatore. He is informed that 11 Beret pistols matching the Calibra killer's weapon were purchased in his home village. 10 were traced, but the last one disappeared without a trace. By a mysterious coincidence, this very gun belonged to a relative of Salvatore's who died abroad. But due to a lack of evidence, he is charged with the murder of his first wife. In 1988, Stefano Mel testifies for the prosecution, to whom the defendant confessed to killing his wife. But under oath, the witness claims he remembers nothing. It was a long time ago. After such a fiasco, the court is forced to find the defendant innocent and release him from custody. That same year, Salvatore vanished without a trace. By a strange coincidence, the Florentine monster's murders also ceased. But several years earlier, in 1985, an anonymous tip alerted the police to farmer Pietro Pasciani. Although there is currently no conclusive evidence pointing to the identity of the Florentine monster, Pasciani is considered the most likely killer based on a number of circumstantial clues. This is where the series ends.